Okay, good morning, everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning. And I would like to take this moment to wish everyone a Yom Haatzmaut Sameach, Happy Independence Day, to all the Jewish people out there, to Am Yisrael Chai, to the resilience of the Jewish people. What a beautiful gift that we have. And it's very important today just to take a few moments to think about what that means, that we have a home that we can go to, something that our grandparents wished they had, something that unfortunately did not have when they were killing Jews by the millions in Germany, in Europe, in the Holocaust. They went to country after country and they closed their doors, they closed their borders to the Jews. They said, no, you're not welcome. And Jews had to turn around, and many of them had to go back into the concentration camps. And what a gift, what a bracha that we have today, this beautiful blessing of Eretz Yisrael, a place that we call home, a place that we pray to every single day. We face towards Israel, we face towards Yerushalayim, and it's a place that we're welcome. It's a place that we can always go back. And unfortunately, today we're seeing the amount of hate that's being preached in the streets, and it's important. It's important that we have Yom Haatzmaut. It's important that we have this bracha, and again, everyone on their own, just to think about that and how lucky we are, how blessed we are. But it's also important, my friends, to remember that Yom HaAtzmaut comes exactly the day after Yom HaZikaron, exactly after Memorial Day, the day that we remember the fallen soldiers. And it's important to remember that the gift of Eretz Yisrael is only because of the sacrifices that people have made, the sacrifices that soldiers have made to give up maybe their lives, the sacrifices that their parents have to live with every day of their lives, knowing that their child is not in this world anymore. Sacrifices that living soldiers have to make because they have maybe amputated limb. Maybe the rest of their lives they cannot walk, they cannot play sports normally, they cannot use their hands normally, maybe they cannot see properly. These are sacrifices. So, the land, the bracha of Yom HaAtzmaut is only possible because of the sacrifices of Yom HaZikaron. And that's, I think, just a lesson for all of life. All of life. And, we have to remember that anything good, anything important, anything that's beautiful and blessed, even something that's as, promised that's going to come to us, like Eretz Yisrael. But Eretz Yisrael comes with Yisurin. Eretz Yisrael, the Gemara says, comes with sacrifices. It doesn't come by itself. It's not just free. Nothing good in life is free. I think we understand that as we grow, as we get older in life, we realize that there are sacrifices that we need to make. You want to buy a house one day. You want to own a home. You have to make sacrifices today to be able to have a house. You need to make financial sacrifices. You have to put aside money. That means that maybe you think about not going out to dinner this week because I need to save a few dollars so that I could buy a house. It means that I may forego an unnecessary purchase. Maybe it's a vacation that I don't need this year. Maybe I would love to go on a Pesach program, but not this year. And yeah, it stinks. I wish I had unlimited money and I could do unlimited things. But that's life. Life is about making sacrifices today because I need to buy a house, because I need to, I want to put myself through school, because I want to save for retirement, right? These are sacrifices. I think that's something that we all understand. No, we didn't always understand that. As kids don't understand what that means to sacrifice. They want something and they want it now. There's this funny video that you see on, you could see it online of they take these kids, they put them in a room and they offer them a lollipop now, and you could eat it now and enjoy it. But if you wait 5 minutes, then you could have 2 lollipops. We'll give you 2. And most of the kids, you see them and they're like fighting with themselves, and they're tempted by the lollipop and they can't hold it in. They give in. They succumb to the temptation. So life is about being able to sacrifice, to wait, to know it's not about right now. Long-term success. Long-term success is not easy. It's not easy to think about. We want to see immediate success, but it requires patience. Adam HaRishon, the first test of man. Our rabbis tell us if he would have just waited a little bit, then the tree would have become permitted. Adam HaRishon ate from the tree of Etz HaDa'at on Friday afternoon. He was created on Friday, the 6th day of the week, and he ate on Friday. And he didn't just eat on Friday, he ate like at 3, 4 p.m. He was at the finish line. Just wait 2, 3 hours. You'll do Kiddush, because the Zohar writes that he would have done Kiddush on those very grapes of Etz Hada'at. According to one opinion, the tree was a grape tree. There's 4 opinions. By the way, nobody says it was an apple tree, okay? So that's for sure wrong. That was taught by the church. But there's 4 opinions. But the opinion that says it was a grape, they continue and they say that if Adam would have waited, he would have squeezed the wine from those grapes and he would have done Kiddush on Friday night just moments later. So life, the first story in the Torah is about just waiting a little bit. Just sacrificing a temporary pleasure for now for something that's much more rewarding later on. Everything good in life, my friends, requires sacrifice. Getting married, it's not easy. I don't have to tell you. If you're married, right? That was a sacrifice that you made. You knew that you could have lived the life that you wanted to live by yourself, pursuing your own dreams, your own pleasures. And now, guess what? You get married, and it's not about you anymore. And we understood that the second we put the ring on the finger, right? It's more like handcuffs is what we put. Now I'm tied down to this person. Now I can't just go wherever I want. I want to play tennis, but I got a partner in my life that I now have to get permission from. I want to go to this place on vacation, but I know that they hate the beach, or they love the beach, but I hate. But they hate what's it called? Hiking, or they like museums, but they like right. And now I gotta adjust my vacation around this person, and that's why there's a trend right now. The trend is not to get married. Nobody wants to get married. You look in the non-Jewish world, everyone just wants to stay single, because getting married is sacrifice. It takes giving up things. It takes giving up where I want to go, what I want to do, the things that I want to. Maybe I want to see one type of activity. My spouse wants to do another activity. Maybe I want to buy this cereal, but my spouse likes that cereal. It could be simple things, but it's a price that I'm paying. Relationships, they cost something. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot something very beautiful. I think it's the 5th Mishnah, the 6th Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Rabbi Yoshua, he teaches something very important. He says, Aseh lecha rav, ukne lecha haver. That means that you should get for yourself a rabbi. Aseh lecha rav, get for yourself a rav, ukne lecha haver, and buy for yourself a friend. Now, before we go deeper into the Mishnah, I just want to explain simply what that means. That means that you got to get yourself a rabbi. You have to have a rabbi. You have to have a mentor. Don't go through life without someone guiding you, without someone who's giving you their mistakes that they've learned from. Don't make mistakes that you can learn from somebody else. You need to have a rav in religion, spirituality. You need to have a rav in business. You need to have a rav in marriage. You need to have a rav in health. Someone that you can counsel, that could give you advice. Don't do things without seeking counsel. Okay, it's very important in life to have a rav. Aseh lecha rav. Okay, but it doesn't say find a rav. It says make a rav. Right? You got to make a rav, and that means a few different things. I could make my rabbi into a bigger rabbi. Yes, you, the student, you could make your rabbi by forcing your rabbi to up his game, by being present, by asking good questions. Eventually the rabbi is going to realize he can't get away with giving you a basic level education because you've upped your game as a student and you asking good questions or whatever that means. So now the rabbi realizes he's got to do more preparation. I remember my son's teacher, I think my son Benny was in kindergarten or nursery, I don't remember exactly, but pre-1A maybe, she said, I usually prepare the perashah basic, every year for the kids. I give them the basic perashah on Friday. She said, all of a sudden this year, your son, the first week, he started asking amazing questions. And I didn't know the answer. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So she said, you know what I did? The next week, I was preparing all week for the perashah class because I knew your son's going to ask me a question that's going to stump me. Right? So she said, thank you because your son, thank you, your son. Now I'm more prepared for the perashah. That's what it means. Aseh lecha rav. Make your rabbi. Call him up. Rabbi, when are we learning? When are we having a class? Let's go. I want to do more. You could push your rabbi, right? Aseh lecha rav also means Aseh lecha rav, make yourself into a rabbi. Educate yourself. You have a question, you call the rabbi, he's unavailable. Don't wait for the rabbi to call you back to start learning. Open up a book. Today, Baruch Hashem, there's no shortage of books. In English, in Spanish, whatever language, French, whatever you like, you can find probably a book on. Go to the library, get a book. You want to learn the laws of Shabbat. Say, I don't know, the rabbi didn't make a class on it. What am I supposed to do? Good. So don't make a class on it. Go get a book of Halachot Shabbat. Haatzmaut Vadia, they just came out with all of Haatzmaut Vadia's rulings on the laws of Shabbat from A to Z. Every law of Shabbat possible that Haatzmaut Vadia spoke about in 2 volumes, in 2 books, in English. They just came out with it in English. Can you imagine? Now, what's your excuse? Right? Aseh lecha rav. So make yourself, educate yourself. Read up on it. Okay? Then it says, ukne lecha haver. And you got to get yourself a friend. You need a rabbi and you need a friend. And we've spoken about in the past that the difference between a rabbi and a friend is that a rabbi's relationship with your rabbi is one way. The rabbi gives you. As a rabbi, I'm the giver, and as a student, I'm the receiver. So when it's telling us to get a rabbi, it means become a student. As a student, you're doing the taking. As a student, we're receiving. We're on the taking end of the relationship. And that's a very easy thing to do, to take. And that's the relationship. The relationship as a student is that I'm receiving. I don't really give back my rabbi. Yeah, I could give him a gift for Purim, Mishloach Manot, right? But the relationship, he's the one giving daily. And I'm taking. And we all have relationships that we're doing the one or the other, right? I'm sure as a parent, maybe you're doing a lot of giving. And it's important to know, as a father, as a mother, as a rabbi, as an educator, my job is to give. The moment I expect back in return is the moment that there's frustration, is the moment that I start, resenting. It's the moment that I get angry at my kids. Where's my thank you? What's going on? He's, unappreciative. But you're making one mistake, and that is that you are expecting back. You're forgetting that you're the rabbi. Don't forget the dynamic of the relationship. You're the Rav. And as the Rav, you're doing the giving. And it's important to remember that. And as long that we remember that, we're going to succeed. I'm not looking to get back. Obviously, I want back, but I shouldn't. I should know that I'm the Rav. I'm doing the giving. That's the first type of relationship. And then there's a Chaver. And a Chaver, what's the difference between a Rav and a Chaver? A Chaver is an equal relationship. It's a give and a take. So we start off in life, it's an amazing progression. We start off as takers. As children, we're taking from our parents, from our teachers. But Hashem created something called friendships, and friendships are very important. And as parents, we should allow our children to develop friendships, because friendships teach us how to sacrifice. In friendships, we are forced to take the next step into the relationship, from becoming a taker to also becoming a giver. As a child, I don't have to give, and I know I could be disrespectful to my parents, and I could be fresh, and at the end of the day, they're still going to love me. But with your friends, good luck doing that. Who's going to want to be your friend anymore? And as we develop friends, and you see kids at age 10, 11, 12, as they start getting older, they start realizing that, you know what, I can't just do things my way. No one's going to want to play with me. I got to start sacrificing a little bit. I'll play with you what you want for a half hour, and then you play with me what I want for a half hour. These are sacrifices that we learn to make as kids. And so the Mishnah doesn't just say get a friend, it says buy a friend. Because there is a price that you have to pay to be a friend. The price of making a sacrifice. Sometimes there's small sacrifices, sometimes the bigger sacrifices. But to have a friendship, friendships are not easy. Friendships mean that I sometimes have to forgive something that my friend said to me that was hurtful. It means that maybe they send a text that they didn't really mean. And I have to swallow my ego. And I got to put aside my pride. And I got to just turn a blind eye and say, okay, it's fine. They didn't mean it. Yeah, it was not nice, but it's okay. These are sacrifices that I need to make if I want to have a valuable, meaningful friendship. The sacrifices of compromise that I need to make in a marriage to know that if I want this marriage to be a happy one, I need to make sacrifices. It means that when I come home, that I got to make a sacrifice. When I come home every day to my wife, I can't just, or my husband, I can't just do what I want. It means I got to turn off my phone and look at my wife and talk to her and ask her, how was your day? And, that's a sacrifice because I'd rather be just, unwinding on the television. I'd rather just, sit down and have a drink. And now I got to, put that down and sit here and talk. And that's a sacrifice that maybe I wouldn't have done if I wasn't married. It means that, I gotta put aside my ego when maybe comments were said, exchanged. Right? Marriage is, my friends, not an easy thing. And you're delusional if you get married thinking it is. And you're in for a big surprise. And Hashem created this thing called infatuation, that when you get married, you're obsessed with this person. And you're head over heels. And that's it's like a high, but it doesn't last. Yeah, infatuation, it's like the sulfur on top of a matchstick, it fades very quickly. But then you need the grind. You need to really build the love of a marriage, the sacrifice, the day-to-day. Yeah, that unfortunately many couples don't even realize that there's going to be. They don't notice when they're engaged, when they're going out. They only see the good part of the relationship. My wife's Kala teacher, she told her, the class, she told the students, she said, you're going to get married and you're going to get into your first fight. And when you do, Mazal Tov. Now you're married. Right? When everything is nice and roses and daisies, that's not marriage. You're still in La La Land. You're like, you're still drunk from infatuation. Real life, real marriage, real anything requires sacrificing. Sacrificing today for a better tomorrow. That's what it comes down to. We need to sacrifice today. It means a bunch of boys putting on their boots and the helmets and going out to fight so that we could have a promised land, so that we could have a Yom Haatzmaut. As parents, raising children, you need a lot of sacrifice for raising children. Raising children properly, raising children with our values. Financially, it means paying for yeshiva instead of throwing them into public school. It means that when they come home, I got to be present. I got to, sit them down and I got to talk to them. And it means, on a Sunday, maybe you got to make a sacrifice. Because, the easier thing is to just plug them in to a screen. But if you really want to raise proper children, then the sacrifices that need to be made. Not an easy thing. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of money. All the things in life need to be sacrificed if you want to have a happy tomorrow, if we want to have a successful tomorrow. If we want to advance our career, we have to sacrifice. I got to work extra. I got to put my best foot forward. That means that maybe on a Friday in the summer when everyone's chilling and having a good time in the Deal or the Hamptons or wherever, at a pool, in a hotel somewhere, on the beach, I got to be stuck in the office, proving myself, doing more. Yes, these are sacrifices. And our parents, they understood what sacrifices are. They made many sacrifices for us to be where we are today. They made sacrifices. We have to make sacrifices for the future. If we want to have our community that we live in, if we wanted to see it flourish and thrive and succeed, guess what? When you were a kid, who paid for all the shuls that you went to? Who paid for all the programs and the breakfasts? Who paid for it? Some guy, some older guy. When we were still young and we didn't have money, somebody had to pay for all of that. And he sacrificed for the future of the community. And as we get older, it's time for us to realize that we have to step up. And it's time for me to give back. But I give back by paying it forward. And I have to make sacrifices for the future of the community. I remember when I was a kid, there was a man by the name of Jack Tersey. Jack Tersey was a very special man. Jack Terzi, he ran the kids minyan in the synagogue that I went to as a kid, Sha'arei Tzion. And Jack Terzi, very special man. And I remember, he added such an important flavor to the minyan. He was the fun guy. He was the guy who got us the tickets to the games, to the raffles. He knew what kind of, ice cream to get for after prayer. We walked in. He made you feel comfortable. He told you, the score to the Yankees if you were a Yankees fan, and if you were a Mets fan, he would tell you the Mets score. And he knew exactly to talk your language. And we went to shul, and a big part was Jack Terzi. Jack Terzi was the reason he went to shul. This guy I wanted to see that smile, that Shabbat Shalom. It was just, he created such an amazing vibe and energy that you wanted to be there. And I remember as a kid, going to shul every week because of him. That's a fact. And after I graduated elementary school, I went to high school. I left the minyan, I moved on to bigger and better, right? And I joined the high school minyan, and then I went to yeshiva, and then, I became a rabbi. And maybe fast forward 15 years, I haven't seen the guy. 15 years later. And I'm sitting I'm in the back of a synagogue one Sunday in Deal in New Jersey in the summer. And there was a Brit Milah, I'll never forget, there was a Brit Milah in that sanctuary in the synagogue. And I'm standing in the back, watching the bris. It's a big mitzvah to be in the room of the Brit Milah. Eliyahu Navi comes, etc. So I'm in the back, and all of a sudden I see right in front of me, I see Jack Terzi. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, Jack? And he turns around and he sees me. He goes, Ariel, is that you? I'm like, Jack, it's me. How you doing? We give each other a big hug and we reconnect. And how you doing? What are you up to? What's the latest? And all of a sudden, I look up at him. I say, Jack, I never got to tell you this. But, I'm a rabbi now and I love religion and I love going to shul. But I want to tell you something. Big part of it is because of you, actually. And it's because of the love that you instilled for the prayers. You made shul fun. And, you got raffles and you got us to games and, how do I thank you? And believe it or not, on the spot, in this big room, this 75-year-old man just started breaking down and he cried right in front of me. He just starts crying. And as he wipes off the tears, he looks at me and he goes, Ariel, I want to tell you, what's the secret to the eternity of the Jewish people? How are we still here? They try to destroy us every generation, and yet we don't go away. Why? How come? What's the secret to the eternity of the Jew? And I was like, so surprised by the question. I'm like, I don't know. What? And he said to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, because a Jew never pays back. A Jew pays forward. A Jew pays forward. When I was a kid, I went to shul. And some guy out there sponsored the breakfast, sponsored the prizes. He paid for me to be able to pray. And I don't know who that guy is, and I can never repay him. He's long gone. But I repay him by giving to you kids. By creating a place and a space for you guys to come and enjoy shul. And so if you want to pay me back, you go out, you start a minyan, you go to a shul, you bring kids, pay it forward. That's the secret to the eternity of Jewish people. And I said, well, Jack, I'll pay it forward. And I think that was the last time that I saw him. A couple of months later, he passed away. It was COVID. Maybe it was, I remember if it was that summer or the next summer, he passed away. And his daughter called me and she said, I just want you to know that, that encounter that you had with my father, he was so appreciative. He got to see a little bit of the fruits of his labor, of all the years that he dedicated to the community, to the synagogue. And he was so happy when he saw you, one of the kids from the minyan, now a rabbi, teaching, giving classes, starting minyanim in shuls, to see that. He gave him, and he got to see it right before he passed away. So thank you. So this was a man who understood that if we want to have a community, there's few sacrifices that we need to make. For other people, not for ourselves, for the community. There's sacrifices that we need to make. Sometimes it could be financial, sometimes it could be time, it could be energy, but there are sacrifices, my friends. And life, all of life, if we want to be healthy, I got to be able to put down an unhealthy snack today so that I can be healthy tomorrow, right? We all understand these concepts. Spiritually, right? No mitzvah is easy. You know, people say, Rabbi, it's hard to wear tzitzit. Yeah, of course it's hard. So, it's also hard to go to work. It's also hard to eat healthy. It's also hard to save money. But everything in life that's good requires sacrifice. And so yes, mitzvah means there is a something that I'm sacrificing to do a mitzvah. The Gemara, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Heve mechashev, you got to calculate. Sechar mitzvah keneged hefseda. Anytime you do a mitzvah, you are losing something. Every mitzvah costs something. You know, it costs money to buy the maybe the etrog. It could cost time to go to synagogue for 45 minutes in the morning to pray. It could cost, maybe my lunch with my friends, because now I can't go because I know that they're going to speak gossip, or because they eat not kosher and I only eat kosher, right? These are sacrifices. But guess what? Life is sacrificing. All of life is making sacrifices, one thing for another. And the Mishnah says, got to calculate. Every mitzvah, Yetzer Hara is going to come and tell you why you shouldn't do it. Because there's something that you're giving up. And guess what? He's right. There's a cost. There's a price. There's a price that you're paying to do a mitzvah. And ask yourself, is it worth it? And every sin that you do, there is a cost benefit, right? There is a cost, there's a price, there's a benefit. You're gaining a pleasure by doing this sin, but you're going to pay a price. When you pick up a cigarette, there is a cost and there is a benefit. And you have to analyze that. And you have to ask yourself, what am I gaining? What am I losing? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Says the Mishnah, calculate. You just got to heveh mechashev schar mitzvah keneged hefseda. You got to calculate a mitzvah versus its cost, and vice versa, an avirah versus its benefit. You got to ask yourself, is it worth it? What are the sacrifices that we're making today to have a Israel tomorrow, to have a promised land tomorrow, to have a beautiful life tomorrow? Financially, relationships, education, health, religion, all of the above. There are sacrifices that we are making because we need to realize that to have a comfortable life in the future means that maybe I need to be a little bit uncomfortable now. You got to buy your friendships. It's not free to be a friend. It's sacrifice. Marriage, sacrifice. And if you're not ready for that, if you're not prepared for that, don't get married. If you don't want to, if you want to just take, don't get married because it's not going to work out well. If you want to just take, don't get friends. It's not going to work out well. So I want to tell you one last story. I'll tell you a story about a Mr. Max. I'll tell you a story about this man, Max. He was born in the year 1920. True story. And he was born in Panama. And this is before the Panamanian community had a strong Jewish presence. This is before there was Rabbi Tzion Levi who went there. This is before everything. This is still very, very weak Jewish community. And this Max, he grew up in a community that there wasn't really so much option even for Jewish education. He went to Catholic school. He grew up, secular, traditional at best. And he enjoyed the good life. He sang in bars. This was the lifestyle that this man was living, like every other Jewish boy at the time. And at the age of 35, he looked around him and he noticed that every single person in his life married a non-Jew. His brothers, his cousins, his friends, everyone that was like what you did. And I'm not sure why, but he felt that he didn't want that. He said, I don't want to have, non-Jewish grandchildren. For him, it was important that he should stay married Jewish. And he decided that that's not going to happen in Panama. And so, could you imagine this good-looking bachelor, like George Clooney, successful. He literally picked up and he left everything that he knew. Mamash like Avraham Avinu. Lech lecha me'artzecha. He picked up and he left his land, his family, his friends, his life, his career, his hometown, his childhood. He left everything, left Panama, came to New York to find a Jewish girl. And he was actually at a party, at an engagement party, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And somebody who knew him at the party knew that he spoke Spanish. He was from Panama. And they said, wait 1 second, I just saw a girl who's from Mexico City. And she also speaks Spanish. Let me introduce you. And she was actually leaving the country in 2 days. That was like her last, she came to the country for a few weeks. And she was leaving the next day. And this fellow introduced him and he saw her. Her name was Gloria. And they spoke and they connected. And by the end of the week, they were engaged. Engaged, my friends. Okay? This Max and this Gloria. And they had 5 beautiful children, many, many, many grandchildren, and many, many, many great-grandchildren. And this Max passed away just a few years ago at the age of 101. 101, Bili Ain Hara. And not just passed away at 101, but he lived to the end of his life, healthy life, beautiful life. And he got a late start in life. He started, I think, 35. And Hashem blessed him to be able to see all of his grandkids, happy. Just Yishtabach Shemo. Bracha, bracha, bracha. And at 101, at his funeral, he passed away and he lived in Brooklyn. And you see, this Mr. Max in his coffin, in the synagogue, in Magen David. And he wasn't gone. He wasn't here. He was gone. But the decision that he made lived on forever. That choice, that one sacrifice, that he looked back at everyone around him and said, I don't want this. And it's going to be hard moving to a new country, to where I don't know anybody, to maybe starting like a new life, a new job, figuring it out from scratch. It's not going to be easy. But that was a sacrifice that he made. And you saw at his funeral, he was surrounded by that decision. All of his children, Shomer Shabbat, grandchildren, going into yeshiva, surrounded by hundreds of friends and family because of one choice that he made. And I know this story to be true because Max's granddaughter is my wife, Frida. And me and my children are forever indebted to that sacrifice that he made, to that one choice that he said, I cannot be comfortable right now because I need to think about my future. I need to think about my spirituality. I need to think about my Judaism. And I actually didn't know this, but my father-in-law told me. My father-in-law was his son, Max's son, Max Anta Alav Shalom, whose yortzeit is coming up, I think this week or next week. He actually passed away on the English Mother's Day, which was just a couple of days ago. But my father-in-law told me that actually that wasn't the only sacrifice that he made. That was probably the biggest one. But there was another sacrifice. Later on, when he lived here in New York with his wife Gloria, his best friend was going to start a company, a business, I don't know, somewhere out west, Central America, I don't know exactly where. And it was awesome, amazing opportunity. And Gloria, his wife, said to him, we're not going there. There's no Jewish community. There's no Jewish life. You came here because you wanted to have Jewish life, to preserve your legacy. To go there, what's the point? And he didn't go. And guess what? His friend became very, very wealthy. And his children married out. And Max stayed here. And all of his children are Baruch Hashem today on the path of Torah and Mitzvot. And so this is, again, just a personal story that, I'm very appreciative of a sacrifice that Max Antar made. Nisim ben Sarah, Ruach Adonai Tanihenu began Eden. And it's something that we need to think about as we go through life, as we celebrate today Yom Haatzmaut, this beautiful gift, this bracha today of Independence Day, that the land that we have, the freedom that we have, the ability that we can go to the Kotel, you can go and take a tunnel tour and, hike through Ein Gedi, and you could kiss the stones, and you could learn in yeshiva after high school and seminary, and pray and have your bar mitzvah trip there. That's all because of sacrifices that were made yesterday that we remembered on Yom HaZikaron. Those are sacrifices people made. And that day, it's very important that it comes before Yom Haatzmaut. It has to be in that order. It has to be that we take a moment and reflect and appreciate the importance of sacrifices. Or else we don't have Independence Day, or else we don't have in Israel. And so all the good things in life are acquired with suffering. They're acquired with sacrifices. If we want to have good children, we have to sacrifice. I saw one time a beautiful line, that if you raise your children, then you can spoil your grandchildren. But if you spoil your children, then you're going to have to raise your grandchildren. So you choose. You pay today or you pay tomorrow, but pay we must. Sacrifice we must. The only question is when. May Hashem bless us to be able to have this vision of being able to see steps and years ahead, to be able to sacrifice what we must today, to be able to take the necessary steps to do today, to be able to ensure that we have a beautiful blessing tomorrow. We'll stop over here, wishing everyone a Yom Haatzmaut Sameach, happy Independence Day. And Hashem should bless us and protect us. And we should see the Geula Shelema, the full redemption, as we go back to Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach. B'meira b'yameinu, amen. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.